Hey man, I hope you're well. Hey man, I've got a problem. I've got several, in fact, but How long ago did I promise we'd drop the skirt on that VFO and take a PIC underneath? Yeah, and I've done how many videos in between just 'cause it takes my mind off of things, man. But I want to today. And the problem is this pile of shit, right? One commentor, wondered how I made my meter faces for my power supply. Yeah, I just scanned them. I just scanned them and printed it. You know, if I need to change the numbers, I do. Just using GIMP, my graphics program on my Linux system. And, I eliminate the stuff I don't want, add text I do want, and yeah. Any color parts on the meters, I did by hand using colored pens. you know? Yeah. Here we have my Fluke meter, my Fluke thermometer. Well, you can't see there we go. And it needs a 9-volt battery, and I don't have one. And so that's that. And I brought this out because we're going to look at something if you stick around. The reason for this video is actually that battery is dead. It's a crap dollar store battery that lasted well over a year in this Kier, which we'll talk about. And that's truly the purpose and intent of the video. I want to talk about my Kier, and I'm going to be cleaning up the bench. I'll pause, you can clean up the bench. But I've got a second least crap battery, being this one, pack of 2, Walmart, for like, I don't know what they cost, man, $5 for something for 2. They had 9-volt batteries, packs of 2 for 13 something. It's like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? Here we have, I find this screwdriver very handy, flat bladed, used for taking knobs off of vintage rigs. Exceedingly handy. Here we have on my bench, I've talked about them before, but the most wonderful grabbing probe you've ever used in your life for working on vintage gear, to keep the little fingers away from the bolts and amps. Cup of reasonably warm instant coffee swill. Let me clean things up a bit. I want to show you that PIC-based Kier. And I want to compare these paddles to the ones I started out in life with. And that's kind of what prompted me to record this video, because I've got CW on my mind, and Fred learning it, and others. Fred's not learning it. He's boning up, ramping up his speed. So, man, those aren't the pedals I learned on, though. I'll show you. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I know, everybody's wondering what's in the box, aren't you? What was that movie called? Seven. It was called Seven. The ending scene. The what's in the box scene at the end. You know what I'm talking about? What's in the box? What's in the box? And what's in that box? That old cardboard box from the 80s. And what's on top? Oh no. Oh yes. We're going to talk about electronics. Hang on. Phone, please. Hang on. Okay, guys, I've put my eyeglasses on so I can tell when the screen's in focus, and I cleared my throat before hitting the record button. Question: will Blozo ever learn how to make a normal video? Answer, no, of course not. Don't ask stupid shit like that. I'm sorry, man. You'll notice a couple things. A, I voted. Now, if you wonder who I voted for, I'd like to tell you I voted for one of the presidential candidates. Silly. Again, don't ask stuff like that. I want to show you guys my beloved PIC-based keyer, okay? It's made, the little PCB board inside, PCB board is redundant. The little PCB inside is from Jackson Harbor Press. And I forget how much I paid. Not much. It was under $20. And I raided the junk box to come up with the switches and pots and such. Okay. I elected to use this PIC-based keyer in a manual fashion. You can set the volume and speed and everything from keyer commands from your paddle. But I didn't want that. I didn't want to build it into a rig. I wanted a standalone keyer with buttons, you know. So I did. I included the little piezo speaker and, excuse me. By design, it has a single memory button, one memory. And that's where our electronics lesson's going to come in, because I added a MEM2 jack on the back panel so that I can plug in a key to trigger memory 2. And that's what I use the straight key for. A tap on the straight key and it triggers memory 2. Okay? The reason I have a keying off switch, because I can't tell you how many times I went to do something like change a memory, reprogram a memory, or change this or that, and I ended up keying the rig. If I flip that, oh, sorry, I don't need to demonstrate. If you flip that switch down, then it breaks the keying output. It can't trigger the rig. This is a tune switch, a manual tune switch, and it's one of my biggest bitches about my Yaesu. When you have a key plugged in, whether it be manual or a set of paddles, you have no way of locking it into transmit mode. You press the MOX button and it doesn't go into transmit. I mean, it's in transmit mode, but it's not it's generating a carrier until you hit the key. And that's nuts. You have no convenient way of enabling your transmitter, sending a carrier on that rig. Nutso, man. Flip that switch down, and it keys the rig, locks it on. Okay? And then the speed pot. You can set it for different ranges if you use a pot. I chose to set it for between 7 and 35 words a minute. So I can go down to 7 words a minute for you guys if you start learning memory, Morse code. I promise you I will, man. I want to work you on the air. Okay, I'm going to tip this up and take you on, give you a little show-see inside. Hang on. I'll change my mind. Before we do that, I want to show you the rear panel. That's the jack where I can plug in my straight key or whatever key you want to use to trigger a second memory function. Paddle input, both of those, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch paddle inputs. Normal transmitter output to key solid state rigs. The Jackson Harbor Press board doesn't come with the opto isolator chip, but I bought one. And an opto isolator chip and a higher voltage FET, a MOSFET or whatever it is, and installed them on the board. He included the locations for them on the board. It's just that if you want to key vintage rigs, then you go ahead and order the parts from somewhere and install them. And this jack provides that, both grid block keying and cathode keying. So, and this is your 12-volt input. In case you want to power it externally, which I do normally, but it has a 9-volt internal battery, which will power it for well over a year. So, okay, I'm going to pause you again. Let's tip it up. Okay, I'm almost done babbling about this keyer. There's not much to see here. That's the size of the thing. It's only about 1.25 inches high. I mean, look how far you're zoomed in. Excuse me. Compare the size of that board to that little switch on the left, or the RCA jacks on the right. And so what you have here is a voltage regulator. That's an 8-pin PIC chip, programmable chip. There's the opto-isolator I bought and installed, and there's the higher voltage FET that I bought and installed. So that's about it, man. Oh, hang on. Okay. Man, look at this crap. You see it? I've got to shim my scribbage up. Okay. The way that keyer works is inside that PIC chip, there are pull-up resistors for all the input, all the external inputs, the digital inputs, unless they're analog. Hell, who knows? Who the hell knows? Anyway, they've got pull-up resistors, and the way you key the thing is by taking those lines to ground. And for the DA, and the memory, okay? And that's how it comes from Jackson Harbor Press. If you want to, and you can trigger memory too anytime by squeezing your paddles, both DIT and DA, and hitting the mem button at the same time. And you'll send memory too. But I got sick of that, man. I wanted a memory too button. So what you do, you connect a diode to each of those lines, and remember, cathode always goes toward negative. And when you ground this cathode, it's the same as closing that switch. It grounds this line. Okay? Same is true for that one, same is true for that one. Now you connect all 3 cathodes in parallel, and this side of the diode, these are still isolated from each other, these 3 lines, even though these cathodes are all tied together because the diodes are open. Now then, when you hit that button there, in my case, of course, it's my straight key, but when you do that, you ground all 3 cathodes, and you take all 3 of these lines to ground. Okay? And there's a memory 3 function in that keyer too, but I just don't use it. If you wanted to, and you want to include a memory 3 button, a dedicated memory 3 button, then you can do this, do the same thing again, and that's this color, okay? And yeah. So, okay, hang on. Before I show you my head box, I'm going to show you my old pair of paddles, which I built at the hospital in my first biomed job when the supervisor wasn't looking. Hang on, man. Check this out, man. I haven't opened these in a long time. At least I packed them nice. Check this out, man. That came with my MFJ paddle. Those are the stock. Anyway, doesn't belong to this. Made them out of acrylic, folks. Okay, I'm going to pause you and sit down so we can take a better look. Check it out, man. You wonder how old these are? Look at the color of the epoxy. Check it out. All acrylic. A ripoff of the MFJ design. And you know what, man? It actually works smoother than my MFJ pedals. It's clacky though. It's clacky as hell. But I've used them for a long time. I used them for decades. They're very positive feeling. The spacing never changes, unlike the MFJ. They have just the right amount of flexation. If you can see right there, can you see my finger moving? And it feels smooth. It's comfortable, man. It feels like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Hang on, I'll pause you and zoom in. Okay, you will note. I'd like to point out that the threads on the adjustment screws are 440. If I could go back in time, they'd be 556? Yeah. Unlike MFJ's, what are they? 632? Yeah. These are some nice fine. Anyway, man, gold contacts from a Burdick EKG machine. On the front of the EKG machine, there's a test. There's a test. Oh God. There's a test waveform available, so you can make the machine. You can ensure that the machine's operating, so the nurse can do that. You know, she snaps the electrodes onto those for that. That's why. That's their original intent. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. My intent was to make a keyer with contacts that wouldn't corrode. I'm going to pause you. Let's look at my head box. Hang on. Okay. To close this long, miserable video, this, my boys, is my head box. Built it at another job I worked at in semi-retirement. I stole that latch, isn't it nice, off of a case of high-end wine at that workplace. Chain to keep the lid from going crazy. Look inside, guys. Isn't she pretty? I'll show you what this is for. Look, watch. It's got pads on the bottom that slides between these rails. And the purpose is, I'll show you. Hang on. There you go. It cradles my paddles. There is a little cutout in the foam for the finger pieces and the feet underneath. And to answer everybody's question that nobody's asked and nobody really cares about, this locks it in place. And this sticks above the wood by about a half an inch, or as carpenters would say, it stands proud of it. And when you close the lid, it puts a crush on it. And keyer's not going anywhere in that head box, man. For trips on field day, of course. When I show up to do CW battle on the bands. That's about all I got. As if it's not enough. Be well. I feel guilty about this. I really do. 73, and take care. Good luck with your CW, guys.